to the 9/11 War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com.
Welcome to the 9/11 War Room. My name is Gene.
My name is Sandra. Today's Sunday, November the 9th, and we have episode 208.
First news story, last November 3rd, I believe that was Monday. Dick Cheney passed away.
Oh,
There is a saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. So that's that news story. Anyways, I will let James Corbett express that. He also just did a podcast about the dark legacy of Dick Cheney. I have 3 clips that I want to share with everyone. Here is the first clip.
And earlier this week, Dick Cheney, Vice President of the United States under George W. Bush, finally met his end. So what does this actually mean? Well, we can't rely on the dinosaur fake news fraudsters to tell us about that. So let's roll up our sleeves and do it ourselves.
All right. That's the first clip. Second clip.
Because it is another important event in the career of Dick Cheney. But moving right along, that leads us, I think, quite nicely, by way of Cheney's membership in something called the Project for a New American Century, that hopefully my listeners know about, to his next stint in a Bush administration, not the George H.W. Bush administration, but the George W. Bush administration, when he was appointed as vice president for Bush Jr. And that happened, well, obviously they got inaugurated in 2001. And what happened during that year, that first year of the Bush Jr.? I think there was some sort of important event that happened just as Cheney was assuming the vice president. Ah, that's right, that 9/11 thing. And who was behind 9/11? I've been told it was Osama bin Laden or KSM or someone like that, right? Muhammad Atta or something. But, if you asked Michael Rupert, for example, at the time, he would have told you it was Cheney in the PIOC.
And I'm going to play this clip of Mike Rupert, rest in peace. This is pretty significant, what he said here about Dick Cheney.
With P-TECH.
But one thing I am certain of, and I believe I have proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt in crossing the Rubicon, I am absolutely certain that Richard Cheney was not only a planner in the attacks, but also that on the day of the attacks he was running a completely separate command and control and communication system which was superseding any orders being issued by the National Military Command Center, that's the Pentagon, or the White House Situation Room. To accomplish that end, he relied on a redundant and superior communication system maintained by the United States Secret Service in or near the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the bunker, to which he and National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice were reportedly rushed sometime after Flight 175 struck the South Tower. I will demonstrate that the Secret Service possessed radar screens which gave them and the Vice President, whose side they never left, real-time information as good or better than anything available to the Pentagon, the FAA, or anybody else, and that it was on the basis of that information that Cheney overrode and took complete operational control on September the 11th. I have shown that in what are called National Special Security Events. I encourage you to all Google that on your computers. The U.S. Secret Service is the supreme U.S. agency for operational control with complete authority over the military and all civilian agencies. I have established conclusively that in May 2001, by presidential order, Richard Cheney was put in direct command and control of all war game and field exercise training and scheduling through several agencies, especially FEMA. This also extended to all of the conflicting and overlapping NORAD drills. I will also demonstrate that the tripod exercise being set up on September 10th in Manhattan was directly connected to Cheney's role in number 3 above.
Ooh. So I think it's pretty devastating. Dick Cheney, he may have been the mastermind, I think. And lastly, one last little clip. I didn't know this about Dick Cheney. It went to the wrong time. What did you say the time was? 104 something. Oh, Lord. I'm just going to guess 104:03. Let's see.
I think victory and to become the
About the heart.
Yeah, this thing. Check.
Very hectic days of transplant, but for the previous 2 Cheney news, and as was reported at that time, Cheney had a heart transplant, but for the previous 2 years, from 2010 to 2012, Cheney was literally heartless. As in, he literally did not have a pulse. He was using a mechanical heart that functioned in a way to create a continuous flow of blood through the circulatory system. So there was no pulse. Cheney literally did not have a pulse. He was literally a heartless, mechanical Darth Vader.
So, there. I didn't say anything bad. James Corbett did.
Did you play the part? Corbett says, yeah, it's too bad he didn't die in The Hague.
Yeah.
That's
And just a reminder for George W. Bush, TikTok's GWB, TikTok. Anyway.
time is.
All right. The next news story. This is from Candace Owens. She's reporting that they're saying another 9/11 is coming. And she's in this whole thing with Tucker and herself and Josh Hammer and that whole crowd. I'm just going to play this clip I put together about reporting on that.
Pay very close attention because all of the wrong people, and by this I mean the pro-Israel crowd, are signaling hard to us that another 9/11 is coming. They're jacking up the jihad rhetoric. Everyone's a jihadist. Muslims are coming. The Muslims are here. Mabdani, there's a jihadist threat. Something big is coming. And the Pentagon, okay, like where the Department of Defense is housed, the Pentagon, which was implicated in 9/11, a lot of questions about what the Pentagon was up to, money, a lot of questions about the Pentagon, okay? Mm-hmm. On top of that, we have Josh Hammer, who is similarly signaling, along with many others, that there's going to be another 9/11. And again, the pro-Israel crowd would know a little something about that. Take a listen to what Josh Hammer said.
A quarter century, just under a quarter century, actually, after 9/11, after the largest Islamic mass terrorist attack in global history, certainly in American history, but find me another single casualty event that killed that many people as were tragically killed on September 11th, 2001, a day.
And he was 12 or 14 at the time. 12, I think it was.
That as a native suburban New Yorker myself, I remember all too well. Less than a quarter century later, they are going to have a Muslim mayor, and not merely a Muslim mayor, but a Muslim mayor who has refused repeatedly to utterly condemn things such as...
These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York.
Our purpose was to document the event.
That was a really good job.
Well,
Really
right now.
Who are you more afraid of as an American, Muslims or Zionists? I'm going to go ahead and say Zionists for me personally, because like whenever they get on this thing where they start talking about like there's going to be a war, whenever they start itching for a war, like they want a regime change in Iran, they find a reason that something happens and suddenly our boys are being sent. So what I will say is your best guard against this is just to refuse to fight in the war that I think they're foreshadowing. Just refuse, honestly, on a principle, refuse. Because our administration has been infiltrated and there are extremely evil people that are at the helm of the United States military and that are not caring at all about American lives, in my viewpoint, not taking a stance whatsoever for the freedoms that people in the past have fought for. Like this administration is not even fighting for free speech on college campuses anymore. And it's a turnaround. It is a 180 from the Trump that...
You will find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
And the end of the clip says...
That's what I'm going to say on that topic.
All right. I wish my screen wouldn't freeze up, but yeah, there's that news story with Candace. The next one, this is Ian Carroll was on with Sean Johnson. Fantastic segment where Ian's starting to come out and speak about 9/11. The entire clip that I have, I put it up on YouTube and Rumble, is about 13:20 of the full interview which I also linked up there. But I just have this 1 minute and 38-second clip that I find interesting at the end, where he says, hey, we're talking about Epstein, and Epstein, he was getting all these clients and things before 2001. Right before 2001 was the heyday of him manipulating people and getting people with blackmail. And here we go.
But there's another piece, and this is part of the report I'm working on right now, is that now we know that was at the heyday of Epstein's influence in this country. That was the peak of Epstein's political blackmail operation.
Interesting.
Right? And so if you have Israel conducting a piece of this complex, multifaceted terror attack on U.S. soil, and you have Jeffrey Epstein operating at the same time with his talons, certainly in the Clinton White House, although by now it's Bush. But if you look at Bush's White House, it was just Israel firsters everywhere, all around. It was just a giant neocon convention. And you've got Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing like bankers and tech people and media people and government people. It's like, I don't know where the connection is, but I can't imagine it's a coincidence that they managed to cover up the biggest political cover-up, the biggest scandal in American history at the time.
Maybe that's how they got so many people to keep their mouth shut.
That's what I would assume, is that a lot of key players, I would assume,
there's videotapes of them with kids
that were in on that cover-up. I think they were probably blackmailed to help. Because it's like, how do you convince an American to knowingly help cover that up?
Unless you got something on them.
Yep. There's that one.
Want to underline specifically.
Whoops. Go ahead.
I want to underline specifically the fact that he mentions that he's working on a report.
Yes.
He's clearly somehow putting something together. I don't know what he means by report exactly. Is it going to be a documentary, or is it going to have interviews? I have no idea. But if Ian Carroll's getting in on the 9/11 thing, that's going to carry a lot of weight, especially with the younger crowd, which, again, we desperately need. So looking forward to that.
Yes. Yep. Next one. Sandra caught this from Jerry. Thank you, Jerry. There's a lot more interviews coming out from firefighters, first responders, and people down at Ground Zero. This guy, we had talked to somebody, and Richard, I can't remember who it was again, but one of the firefighters talked about an engine landing on an ambulance. Well, this isn't that guy. He says something pretty interesting, and I'm just going to show the beginning of this. Here we go.
When I first arrived at Ten House, both the engine.
Okay, so for those that don't know, Ten House is literally right across the street from the World Trade Center. It's the closest firehouse there.
I just want to add the fact that he is actually an accountant. That's his day job, or it was his day job at the time. He was a volunteer firefighter, so he went into New York for his day job, and when this happened, he went down to the fire station and said, how can I help?
Yes, here we go.
Engine and truck company had already, those companies had already responded to the scene. The captain was still in quarters for 10 House, for 10 Truck, and I introduced myself and said, hey, if you can use me, great. If not, I'll get out of your way. And basically he said, Rob, you're all I got. And my assignment was to set up one of the first, if not the first, triage locations for Lower Manhattan. So in the firehouse already, we had injured people, and it was my responsibility to start providing care for them.
Tell me what happened when the second plane hit the South Tower.
When the second plane hit the South Tower, the captain had mentioned to us that was not an accident. We're being attacked, and we definitely need to keep an eye out for whatever could potentially be coming next.
About an hour later, the South Tower collapsed. Tell me what happened. Where were you when that happened?
Yeah, so I was in the firehouse when the South Tower collapsed. We all started hearing this tremendous sound. And there were people who were out in front of the firehouse who came running towards me in the firehouse. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, it's coming down. I go, what's coming down, the plane? And they were like, no, the tower. So we had people in the back of the firehouse trying to get out the back door of the firehouse. Then there was myself, and then there were the people who were by the street. Basically, when the collapse happened, everything went black. We couldn't see, we couldn't breathe because of all the ash. They estimated that the wind was about 140 miles an hour
So this is a second corroborated piece of evidence. The first guy that we mentioned, I think last week, said about 160 miles an hour they calculated, so 140 miles an hour. These winds, when this tower came down, displacing the air, was tremendous. But here's the most important thing he's going to say coming up.
When the tower came down, I got blown off my feet. 2 EMTs who came over from Brooklyn were now with us. One of them, he got blown off his feet as well. We had a jet engine come into the firehouse and crush the ambulance that they brought that we were supposed to use.
Right there. A jet engine, while the building came down, landed on an ambulance in the firehouse. Like, I could see that happening when the plane went through the building, but that's just strange because if anybody knows the layout, the engine 10 house is due east of building 2. So there's just something doesn't make sense with all this, but we need to talk to this guy, Rob Weisberg.
And we need to dig up the other guy who said his brother had pictures of it, which we want to look at as well. But the fact that it came down in the collapse is significant, if he's remembering correctly, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, there was that east facade of 2. It was tilting that way. I don't know.
Can you share the floor plan with us, Gene?
Sure.
The site plan?
Yes.
That would be real valuable.
Thing is, obviously, it's entirely possible that the engine, remained in the building after it hit the building, and then when the building came down, it was just ejected with all the steel beams and everything, and landed there.
Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know, here's 2. The 10 house sits, I believe, if not right here, it's right here. To the top left of this blue box of 6, or the top left blue box. Oh, no, that can't be.
I thought it was down here.
Yeah, I thought it was across Liberty Street.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there is a firehouse right across Liberty Street from the South Tower also, and maybe the same one.
Mm-hmm. Let me dig a little deeper.
Well, does the floor plan gave the detail of what building was what, if you want to go back to that?
What did?
Well, the floor plan you just showed had a list at the bottom naming all the buildings that you could see.
Yeah, it didn't list that one.
Okay.
Oh boy. Firehouse 10. Sorry, folks.
No, this is important.
Oh wait. There we go. What's this?
What we're trying to do, folks, is determine whether the engine landing in the 10 firehouse is, of course, in the path and the direction of the debris ejected from the South Tower after it was hit. But the South Tower was hit from the south. The North Tower was hit from the north. So either way, I think it doesn't make any sense in either of these locations.
Well, again, if the engines remained inside the building after the plane hit, and it was only ejected once the tower came down, it could have gone in any direction.
Oh.
And maybe it was lying on the south side of the building and got ejected southward.
Why am I doing that?
Gotcha.
This is the way I should have done this. Jeez, oh man. Firehouse 10 Manhattan. Here we go. It is Liberty. Correct.
Where's Shores Firehouse?
Right here.
Yeah.
Where's the South Tower?
Right there. So that doesn't make any sense.
Your cursor's moving too fast.
Oh.
Rub the cursor around the South Tower so we all know.
Let's go to traffic view. It'll be easier to see. Maybe not.
And of course, that's the memorial. Did they put the memorial, I forget, in the exact same place that the South Tower and North Tower were?
I believe so, yes.
So here is Tower 2 where it used to stand.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Liberty Street underneath it. And 10 House is right at that corner.
Okay, so southeast.
Southeast of the South Tower, yeah.
And the plane, show us the plane that hit the South Tower came from low down, hits the South Tower, and somehow ejects the jet backwards, which it seems obviously impossible. So Sanders suggesting that maybe it lodged inside the building, and then when the building came down, it then landed somehow outside. Well, it landed on the tent house. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right. Thank you for that. And then there was another gentleman. I didn't listen to this one. Vic Garnera. I don't know, Sandra, if you have anything to say about that one.
Not much. I kind of like skimmed through it quickly to see if there was anything relevant to us. Another very well-spoken man who just spoke very much from the heart. It was very emotional for him to recount the events of that day. It's a long interview, but I want to point out that these clips. Well, first of all, thank you, Jerry. He's the one who's been bringing them to our attention, and I do see that there is a series by the channel is Voices of History, and he's done a whole series. Voices of History presents 9/11 Remembered, a day of infamy. I see that there's other clips, so I'm going to be looking at those for anything relevant, because we are trying to. This was suggested by Ellie, who we spoke with last week, that with the anniversary, we wanted to focus on firefighters, B on the younger generation, right? So Ellie suggested that we get back in touch with the firefighters and the first responders that Graham McQueen tracked, basically. And we thought it was a fabulous idea. And these clips were coming in great. And I suggested it to our firefighter friends. And then I spoke to Ted, and Ted said, well, I kind of already did all the legwork a few years ago. And it was like, wow, okay. So he said he had about 80 of them, with very, I don't know if you want to add to that, Ted, but basically not a whole lot of results coming from it. But in the meantime, maybe with the subject becoming more open and more firefighters retiring, we feel it's a very good effort to invest in. So we'll have Ted speak to Raul, hand over the list of contacts that he's made and contact information that he's found, because that's a lot of the part of the work, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully Raul will run with it. And so, yeah, it's going to be a community effort to try to reach these firefighters in time for the 25th anniversary.
Yep. All right. Next news story. I'm wrapping them up. We're getting near the end here. IC 9/11 released their review of Tucker Carlson's series titled The 9/11 Files. Tucker Carlson treads cautiously in earnest attempt to spark new investigation. Love the title. It goes on. I haven't made it the whole way through. The Building 7 part, that's the best part. And I was gearing up for it, and then I just ran out of time today. But the introduction, everyone's got to read it. It was a fantastic introduction, and it gets down to this part that I want to read. Corbett's widely read first piece on this question urged vigilance about the risk of growing skepticism of 9/11 could be diverted toward a limited hangout. Basically, there's still a chance Tucker's limited hangout here. His more recent piece, by contrast, encouraged a yes and approach. Rather than reflexively dismissing late arriving critics like Tucker Carlson or Ron Johnson for not going deep enough, we should welcome their contributions and expand on them with our own knowledge. It is in the spirit of both approaches, vigilance and yes and, that we reflect on the important 5-part series Carlson has released over the past month. Goes on to explain there's the 3 stances, basically, that Tucker is putting the camps of everybody into: Lee Hop, Me Hop, and the incompetence theory. And it says it's not afraid to pull punches. And it says here in the article, the series decidedly errs on the side of incompetence, even though the facts presented weigh very much in the direction of intentionality, and even though Carlson, as evidenced by the questions he poses at the end of the final 2 episodes, clearly suspects something far more deliberate. So this is a good, goes through each episode, gives the thoughts about it, basically a summary about it, cliff notes, and then their thoughts about it. And here's what's unfortunate. Episode 5 mostly reverts to the narrative of this incompetence theory. And it's unfortunate given where episode 4 had just gone. Like, he really threw out some good stuff. And so that's really all the further I'm getting. It's just interesting in marking some of the points. Like, this is probably the worst thing Tucker said in the whole series. Quote, the extreme levels of incompetence that made it possible for bin Laden to pull off the most sophisticated terrorist attacks in history. Like, oh, really? Come on, Tucker. That's such a letdown. But we do have to hand it, and you talk about it in here. We got to commend him for addressing Building 7 at all. Although the demolition of Building 7 has become more widely recognized in recent years, Carlson's willingness to go there will undoubtedly bring the issue to millions of people, and at the same time signal to those already aware that the topic is now fair game for public discussion. That's all really I had to share. Ted, I don't know if you want to add anything else to it.
No, I mean, I'll just sort of let the piece speak for itself. You can find it on IC911.org or on Piers Robinson's Substack or on the IC911 Substack. So that this here is the IC911 Substack. It's long, but we want it to be thorough and like strike the right balance. And I think it's worth having something in depth evaluating this important development. So thanks Gene for featuring it, and thanks everybody for taking the time to read it.
Yep.
Yeah, totally worth the read. Just really, really, really well written. Everything about it is just, that's exactly, and you address all of it. Like you said, he keeps this dance going between incompetence and LIHOP and MIHOP. So and that's what it was. It was a little bit of everything, and some things were
What'd you
great.
Say? LIHOP?
You say LIHOP, I say LIHOP.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tomato.
Sandra, did you say that he includes in the dance MIHOP? I didn't hear any MIHOP in that series.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the implication of everything around World Trade Center 7.
Well, I don't think so at all. He didn't even suggest that in the whole 5 episodes. There was no suggestion of U.S. government carrying it out that I remember.
Well, I mean, I think it's mostly by inference. Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
Well,
I mean, we could definitely, I probably have a lengthy discussion about it. I know that Boston 9/11 Truth hosted a conversation about it a few weeks ago, which I wasn't able to attend, and I was still kind of processing at that time the series. But I mean, I think really a lot of what is implied in the facts that are presented, the fact pattern, and in the questions that Carlson asks, particularly at the end of episode 5, and also but especially at the end of episode 5, I think we offered 2 versions of MIHOP, one which we called managed war trigger, and the other a manufactured war trigger. And I mean, I think you just have to look at the facts around giving the alleged hijackers passport, visas to enter the U.S. and John Brennan's role in that, and this operation supposedly gone wrong, to really question that. If at least in a lot of people's minds, they'd be thinking about, wow, were there people within the U.S. government that wanted this to happen and didn't just sort of quote unquote look the other way, but actually took active steps to facilitate it. And then I think Building 7 is he doesn't say anything in the series, and as we discussed, he adds a lot more uncertainty than there should be about why Building 7 came down. I have heard him say in interviews that, like, Building 7, in one interview, that Building 7, if it's a demolition, sort of, well, what does that mean? He kind of like boiled it down to foreknowledge. This was an interview that he did with Sagar and Jetty. But I think anybody really, any logical thinking about it really leads well beyond LIHOP or just foreknowledge. You're not going to rig a building for demolition in Lower Manhattan simply based on some knowledge that some guys want to hijack some planes and fly them into buildings. So I think Tucker, look, I don't think we go out of our way to give him more credit than he deserves. I mean, that's my personal take on what we wrote. But I think he's giving people, I think the effect of it, however intentional it is that he's giving people enough crumbs to walk in that direction. Yep. And we can debate all day long whether that strategy is sound or whether it was intentional or not. But
Thank you.
Well, could I just make one more? I know you want to move on, Gene, but could I just make one more comment? I mean, my concern, and it's not that this is necessarily a black and white thing, but my concern is that the reinforcement of the Bin Laden did it narrative, I don't think it helps in terms of I don't think there's any connection made between the Building 7 and that. And I don't know that the average person who is not following 9/11 very closely is going to be savvy enough to say, wait a minute, why, I would question that. So I think that's a failing of the series. But I just want to make one point, which is you mentioned the thing about Brennan and the passports and the letting the alleged hijackers in. Specifically in episode 1, that what they say about that is that the purpose was to let them into the country so that they could be recruited as sources within Al-Qaeda. Mm-hmm. There's no indication that they were allowed into the country so that they could hijack airplanes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I think our take on it is that they've taken, that is all comes from the interpretation from Rossini, the FBI agent who's interviewed, from other FBI agents who are cited in the Canestraro filing, Guantanamo filing. I think that people, no way to say, but I think a large percentage, a sizable percentage of people watching this will suspect that this was more than just they were giving them passport visas in order to bring them, make them into sources or whatever. And I think, I just think that in the end doesn't really stand up. And some people will buy that narrative, but I think a lot of people won't. Or I think with time to mature and time for this story to be hopefully and maybe investigated further, that narrative could fall flat. Yeah. So I just think the way that we put it was they forced that narrative onto a fact pattern that doesn't really fit the narrative. The series does say in those first few episodes that basically this is incompetence, but the fact pattern doesn't really fit that. And I think was that conscious on Tucker's part? I don't know, but I think that a lot of people will come away with suspicions far beyond just that this was a massive blunder.
Thank you, guys.
In the end, he is asking for a new investigation. So there's that.
And for those interested, Boston somehow landed Mark Rossini. That's next month, December 11th. If you want to be there, please be there. That's going to be a good one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty cool. That'll be
December 11th.
Thursday, December 11th, 6:30 p.m. Anybody wants an invitation, contact Sue Serpa at sueserpa@gmail.com. Cool. And go to Carl real quick, and then I'm going to cover my last news story.
I think that's the
Thank you.
Tuesday, I think.
Oh, is that a Tuesday one?
It's the week. That's the Tuesday.
Hang on, Carl. Let me make sure.
Well, all right.
It is. Hang on one sec, Carl.
No, never mind.
It is the Thursday.
I'm sorry.
All right. Go ahead, Carl. Sorry.
Hey, initially, Ted Walter, I want to point out to you, maybe caution you on use of the term fact pattern. There are only two kinds of evidence, direct and circumstantial evidence. And all of the last 24 years, there seems to be a reluctance to ever discuss the circumstantial evidence of 9/11. And of course, the direct evidence is, the people that pulled it off, they would be utterly incompetent to ever let there be a smoking gun piece of direct evidence. So as far as the term fact pattern, the only other person I've ever heard use that phrase is Jefferson Morley, who is a 17-year Washington Post reporter who is like the poster boy for JFK truth. He's been suing the CIA for decades for records and blah, blah, blah. And his website, JFK Facts, he often, even in his congressional testimony, I sat a few rows behind him that day earlier this year. He keeps referring to the fact pattern of JFK's assassination, not to the direct and the circumstantial evidence. So that's, morally, I would say, is Operation Mockingbird. So I'd be careful about using the term fact pattern rather than evidentiary terms. Michael Rupert saying that Secret Service was in charge of the whole federal government. on 9/11 and for a decade before that, as a U.S. Customs Special Agent, I was part of the U.S. Treasury Department, and the U.S. Secret Service was always during that time a subsidiary entity of the Department of the Treasury. After Homeland Security was created, they were no longer, under Treasury. I don't believe Customs certainly wasn't. But lastly, just to channel the late doctor, or no, he's not late. He's still around, just not able to communicate as well. Dr. Alan Sabrowski of the Army War College on 9/11. I mean, in the days thereafter, he said, look, you look at World Trade Center 7, that's a controlled demolition. That means explosives are pre-positioned. You look at the two towers, well, obviously there are explosives pre-positioned in all three buildings. And you ask yourself, what entities in the world are capable of orchestrating that? And it leaves us with U.S., Israeli, maybe British intelligence, and perhaps some very high-level private contractors, who maybe it can be facilitated via people like what's his name? Silverstein, the people that ran the owners of the World Trade Center, the Port Authority. The key term probably comes back to a term Sayanim, SayAnim, which is painfully, and I empathize with people in the Jewish world over this term, because that means, when Mossad, the great power of Mossad is when they tap on the shoulder of somebody in the Jewish world, the Jewish community, even if they're a secular Jew, and say, hey, for the greater good of our people, you must, we'll make sure you're never going to be prosecuted. Don't worry about it. Well, let's think of Silverstein as, even if he's not Mossad himself, but he gets the tap on the shoulder. He talks every Sunday with Netanyahu for years. He always talks with Netanyahu on Sundays by phone. Well, he gets a tap on the shoulder. Hey, Larry, get the lease on the towers. We can help you, make it happen. We know people at the Port Authority, and don't worry, take out insurance. Don't worry about it. We've got you covered. No one's ever going to prosecute you. The judges who are going to process every family member for 9/11, they're in our pocket. So don't worry about it. So the key term is Sayanim, and Dr. Alan Sabrowski told us days after 9/11 what was really going on. U.S. sympathetic people in the U.S. hierarchy, sympathetic, like Dick Cheney, but it's not purely, quote, an inside job.
Thank you, Magnus. And then I'm going to get to the last news item.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to say that the Tucker Carlson page is now working, where you can sign the petition.
Newcommissionnow.com. Let's experience this together to see if it works for me. Newcommissionnow.com. Hit enter. No.
It's working for me. That's strange, Gene.
All right.
Well, it's been on and off for different people, so
ever since he put the thing out, people in the United States are having a rough time getting to it. It's good to hear that you can get to it outside of the country, because we need so many Norwegians to help. Thank you, though, Magnus.
Everybody I can. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Last news story. I am going to pass it on to Richard if he would like to share the latest on what's going on with that.
At what? AE 9/11 Truth, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, the organization that I founded 20 years ago. We got a call, Gail and I, from Kamal and Kelly. They said, hey, look, you really need to return and come back. And Gail and I thought about it quite a bit. And we said, okay, we'll do this. We got real excited about it. But we had some conditions. And one of those conditions is that we would be in control of the board. And the board, by the time we thought we got control of it, was composed of four people, Kelly, Kamal, Gail, and myself. We were put on the board. And the plan from the very beginning, 90 days ago or so, was that Kelly would step down, which is why when we announced it, we announced very clearly to God and everybody that Kelly, who had worked so hard for so long, was going to step down and put her efforts into her new financial career. Her name was not listed. Her image was also not listed on the board of directors in that announcement. And we thought that's the way that we were proceeding. At several points during the negotiation, it was reiterated that we would be moving the board from 4 people down to 3. 3 days ago or so, after they were the only ones left on the board, and then they brought Gail and I on the board, and then there were us 4. We then said, okay, it's time to step down, Kelly. This is what we agreed to. I asked her for her resignation the other day, and she freaked out, and as if this was a complete surprise. Kamal, we discussed this yesterday. We discussed why Kelly was going to be leaving, that we're going to have a board meeting with our new board members, and they are going to show up and they're expecting to be the board. This turned into a big problem over the last 3 days. Gail and I have been working full time on this for at least 30 days. And over more than full time, almost day and night for the last week. Working on that announcement, having it be approved by Kamal, having Kelly not be on that announcement, she wasn't on the board of directors, which is immediately beneath the article front page on the AE 9/11 Truth website. We thought this was done 2-3 days ago. But then I asked for Kelly's resignation and remained firm, and Kamal backed her up. We don't know why. All along, he had been with us on that issue. And yesterday, he then threw out on us a 2016 policy, which AE 9/11 Truth has, which states that board members cannot vote for 60 days when they're elected. In fact, as he says, they're not even board members yet. They're probationary. Well, this was a policy, and it turns out, because I did legal research on it last night, that it's completely illegal. Kamal disagrees with that. So he seems to be willing to sacrifice the forward movement of this transition in order to keep Kelly on the board. And I don't know what that's about, but today I'm just very, very sad to let you guys know, and we're going to have to let the entire truth movement know somehow, that Gail and I have pulled out. We did not agree to take over an organization and be hobbled without the right to vote, or without our new members, board members, having the right to vote for 60 days. So he just doubled down on that during the course of this meeting, actually. He can have it. If we're going to take over architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, we need control of it. And trust me, there's something going on over there that does not want to let go, even though we were assured that they were both wanting to retire. They don't want to retire, and apparently. And so it is completely non-understandable to Gail and I what's so important over there to sacrifice this successful transition, which we have all poured our hearts into. I worked with Kamal very closely on that announcement and everything. And then when it came time for Kelly to step down, it just blew up in our faces. And then she attempted to take control and succeeded in some cases. of after the blow up of the passwords, which I had changed most of them, but probably the most important one was not turned over and was turned over, but turned back again. There was an attempt to take over YouTube, Facebook, and the donor. So I'm just like, hey, Gail and I have a full-time work with RG 9/11.
Yeah.
We don't need a battle. Yes, the 9/11 Truth Movement needs, I believe, Richard Gage and Gail Gage and this incredible team that we took a month to assemble.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is the most important thing that the Truth Movement needs. And I thought with all my heart that Gail, Kelly, and Kamal did as well. And so we don't need a legal battle over the terms of this 2016 policy. We don't need a password battle. We're done. We're out. I'm so sorry. I cannot carry on my fiduciary responsibilities to the 1811 Truth donors under those conditions. Gail, do you want to add anything?
You guys, obviously this is very new and it's very difficult for us, but like Richard said, you know, there's no way that we could move forward with this when really it's indefinite, because even though Kelly says, oh yeah, I'm stepping down, but if they're insisting that she stays on after the board and everybody's on, the only commitment we got was she'll step down when she's ready, which tells us that with everything that's been going on, she was never planning on stepping down. It's heartbreaking and it's so discouraging, but you know what? It's like, we're not going to fight this. And first, like Richard said, for whatever reason that we don't know, there's something else going on there. There was some other motivation or intention. Because I can promise you guys, when they called, the first time when Kelly and Kamal called, however long ago, and said, hey, Richard, we want to give AE back to you. We want you to come back. And so at first, Richard was very hesitant because he didn't understand that they were saying, no, we're all leaving. It's going to be only you. In that call, Richard made it very clear that everybody from the old board would have to be off the board for us to take it over. And both him and Kelly reassured Richard. I was sitting there listening, but I wasn't on the call. I was just listening. They reassured Richard that both he and Kelly would be stepping down and leaving the board. And Richard made it very clear that is the only condition that we could step in would be if they are stepping out. So somehow during this past however long, Kamal has decided that we never made it clear that Kelly had to be off the board, which is not true. Multiple times during this past
At least
many
5-6 times.
Yeah, we kept reiterating Kelly has to be off the board. We believed Kamal. It was just seemed really weird that Kelly wasn't moving very quickly on passwords and things like that. And there seemed like there was some kind of dragging of feet going on that we didn't understand. But now we really can see that it doesn't seem like she was ever planning on getting off the board.
45 minutes before this meeting, I let Kamal know that we're bowing out, that we're going to be making this announcement. And he ended up basically saying, I wish you the best, meaning the negotiation's over. I'm willing, Gail and I, we're still willing to accept the offer as we originally
agreed upon.
Wow, brilliant questions. Let me just address one of them. Absolutely no interest in trashing AE, and I hope I didn't do that. And I don't think Gail did that either today. Some of the rest of you climbed on, but that's not me. I will give all the passwords back to Kamal with peace in my heart. And I will be asked what happened. And the level of detail will be given relative to the context that I'm in. Let me ask Gail if she has anything to add to that.
Yeah.
As far as publicly goes, you know, obviously the world's going to have to know because we made it so public. It's very unfortunate that Kamal and Kelly let us get to the point with the announcement and everything before making us aware of what the true intentions were as far as long term with the board. So that kind of, we can't take that back, that announcement back. But yeah, I just think that as far as AE itself goes, boy, I do not feel it would be right at all for Richard and I to try to stay on and just jump through all of their hoops and basically let Kelly be in control. That would not fix the problem, and it's not going to help AE. Which Richard and I personally would not be able to do that. I would have to jump off the boat or get off the train and
We
let him
discussed it in
proceed.
some detail, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hanging on for months
Yeah.
without a
Oh,
vote?
yeah. Yeah. We talked it out and what that would look like and how would we both feel about it. And, would that be the best thing for AE? And it's clearly not, because they have switched it from the organization itself to themselves. And so now we're responding to them rather than to the organization. And, as far as Richard and I and trying to make this work, I just absolutely agree that we should not try to proceed with Kelly and Kamal with the way what they're saying the rules are, what we have to do.
We were told that when we were added to the board, that we were the CEO and COO. We were later told 2 days ago that wasn't actually done at that two-person board meeting, because we weren't at it, because they just added us and then called us on the phone. And I said, are we CEO and COO as well? He said, oh yeah, all that was done. Well, I just took Kamal's word for it. And come to find out, he emails me later and said, oh, that was never done. I never was, according to Kamal, the CEO. And that was never fixed when there was even opportunity to fix it, because the cloud came over. And another mystery about what's going on there. There's not too many clues, but there are more mysteries. I'm happy, by the way. Gail and I are happy. We were most months we're able to pay the mortgage, which is great. And that's all I need, And I was volunteering at 1811 Truth because there was no money. After all was said and done and people were paid their back wages, there is literally no money. In fact, there's a negative balance. And that's why you're confused. And that's why Gail and I are confused. We've been racking our brains trying to figure out what motivation is going on over there such that this whole thing shifted without being told, other than Kelly's not ready. Okay. Better get ready, because this is not about Kelly. This is about AE 9/11 Truth and the larger 9/11 Truth. And it's not about me either. I'm like I'm doing right now. Well, Gail and too, we're walking away from trouble, and we're walking away from being on a bigger leash than we had when we were there in the first place. Much bigger leash. There was nothing voiced other than what I just said in terms of why the control wouldn't be released, other than the clinging to this policy, which is illegal, that says 60 days, no vote.
You guys, there is one little catch as far as the 2-month waiting period, is that according to the contract that Kamal sent to us, it does say that this is a probationary period only, that at the end of the 2 months, the sitting board will determine whether those board members that have been waiting 2 months, if they'll bring them on or not. So they still have that decision to make. So,
but
at
it's
that
not a
time-
contract, to Gail. That was an email or a text.
Right. But he was explaining the details behind this policy that he's using to keep us from being able to be board members for 2 months.
I'm deeply moved by the level of support here and the compassion. This has been very difficult for Gail and I, and I feel now I kind of know what to feel. I'm starting to feel my sadness, but I'm feeling more gratitude to to the hearts that are opened here and have opened to us. We'll move forward and be open, like Barb stressed, to a change of heart on the part of Kamal and Kelly.
All right, let's go around the room. This has definitely been a conversation. I appreciate everybody being part of it and being civil with each other and through this. So 9/11 Truth Movement still lives. Let's start with, well, I'm skip. Mike, get back to your chair. Jane's taking a drink. Al's not there. Carol.
I'm Jane.
I know. Let's go Carol first.
Well, I'm just completely surprised because I got completely different information on Thursday, and I was sort of expecting us to be moving on to looking at what we're going to be doing for the 25th anniversary and all the conversations that are taking place between Ron Johnson and members in the Truth Movement about how to move forward, and that's what I was really looking forward to. And I'm very sad that that it's such a mess with AE, despite all the great work they've done over the years, especially Richard and Gail.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carol. We're still going to
Thanks, Carol.
We'll pick up planning next week as far as what we're going to be doing for the 25th anniversary and what the talks are and what everybody's thinking. So thank you, Carol. Let's backtrack. Al, anything for the group?
What was our next speaker? I forgot.
You're next.
For Boston 9/11.
Yes, let's announce that. I think.
Ouch.
Sorry for the noise.
I should know.
November 25th, Bob Runyon's coming up. December 11th, Mark Rossini, and January 8th, Nelson Martins.
Got it. Well, and that's will be Sue will be back next week, I think. So if you want to contact her, and Richard, I just want to say you'll always be the father of this movement. And when I got involved, it was you that got me when I was playing those early DVDs, and so whatever you do, don't go anywhere without letting us know.
Okay, Al, thanks for the vote of confidence.
Right on, Al. Stick with Boston. Let's go to Jane. Sweet Jane.
Oh, well, okay. I'm just having this question, an overarching question about what, and I may be just missing, a lot of parts of all of this, but what is the problem with the A&E earlier efforts? What is the vision that is not in sync with the larger picture? And what is the, whether it's Kelly David or whatever, what vision is it that is so controversial or so divisive?
Really, it's a great question, Jane, and it has not been spoken to us.
Thank you.
And that's why it's not spoken to you. And that's why you're confused. And that's why Gail and I are confused. We've been racking our brains trying to figure out what motivation is going on over there such that this whole thing shifted without being told. Other than Kelly's not ready. Okay, well, better get ready, because this is not about Kelly. This is about AE 9/11 Truth and the larger 9/11 Truth movement. And it's not about me either. I'm like I'm doing right now. Well, Gail and too. We're walking away from trouble, and we're walking away from being on a bigger leash than we had when we were there in the first place. Much bigger leash. So, yeah.
You guys, I kind of get the sense that it was never in the plan for Kelly to step down.
That's speculation, and it's
I know
obviously
it's speculation,
true, but
that is speculation. But that's just a feeling. I don't know. I mean, that's it. I can obviously be wrong, but I don't know.
We're
That's
told
the
that-
only thing that in my mind can explain it at all.
Yeah. Does that you feel better, Jay?
Well, I guess I feel what's sympathetic with the perception that we're not totally clear about what this division has been.
Yes.
Is that a way to say
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes. There was nothing voiced other than what I just said in terms of why the control wouldn't be released, other than the clinging to this legal, this policy, which is illegal, that says 60 days no vote.
Mm.
And okay, yeah, that's it.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike, don't walk away. Come back, Mike. Here he comes. Mike, anything for the group wrapping up?
I guess I got to get my AE email going again. I sent a message to Andy, but he's gone now. So Kelly, whoever.
Just you don't send a message to anybody. You just go to the website and subscribe.
There you go. Right on. Peace out, Mike. Craig, anything for the group wrapping up?
Yeah, a couple of quick things. I just want to put basically remind people when people are talking about what's going on today, all that there are a lot of good work has been done there, both by Richard and by people who were part of the same team as Richard, both before and after. And I just don't want people to forget that and just to sort of think, well, the whole thing was a complete shit show. It was a combination of that and seriously, well-meaning people who were doing their best.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's weak and irresponsible leadership by the people we've been talking about, and I do want to make a mention too very quickly of Roland Angle, and I know he had he played a part in it, but I think something was lost when Roland passed away, because at least he may not have been entirely on the same page as Richard, but I think he had more of a vision for the truth movement and the cause, and I think, I think that's been lost since his passing at the organization, and so I just wanted to mention him. And so the mystery that you're talking about is also a mystery to some of us who were there and lived through it. It's the mystery remains, and I hope I was going to just finish with this. I hope Richard, maybe you and I can have a conversation sometime soon. I'd like to. I feel like things were there was some probably the lack of communication can lead into bad feelings, and I don't want that to happen. So maybe we can have a chat sometime.
I appreciate that offer, Craig.
Very cool, Craig. Yeah, thank you. Let's go to JB.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. Mike Zarzano.
Hey, thanks, Gene and Sandra. You guys do a great job, and you are definitely underpaid.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen is right. So I just wanted to announce Tuesday night on TAP, Truth Action Project, TAP series, Our American Emergency. We're going to be talking about exploring new territory in the 9/11 movement, such as high schools and middle schools, regarding the forced curriculum in the state of Florida. And I believe there are 14 other states that force propaganda curriculum upon high school and middle school students. And they use, in Florida, they use the Tunnel to Towers curriculum, which is very damaging and very deceptive. And then also the New York Museum as well. But we have already launched some investigations in Palm Beach, Highlands County, Sebring, Lake Placid area, and we are requesting records request for any videos, slideshows, and written material, and any policy that is mandated. So, and we're going to confront the county and school board commissioners directly. And this is a way that we can engage locally this issue of 9/11, where we see the culprits face to face and we can confront them, in their own environment on a weekly or monthly basis. So join us Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, if this interests you, and it should be a very interesting discussion. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I got to share a story on that because this is just amazing. We're building, I'm part of a project, construction manager, but part of building a new elementary school. And we had a student tour, and my project manager was part of it. And one of the teachers from the, I guess, industrial arts section for these kids come in. My project manager, I've tried to share 9/11 Truth with her a couple times. To one point, here's experts speak out. Would you watch this? After 2 weeks, you return the DVD saying, I don't want to watch this. I'm like, okay, fine. That was a year, 2 years ago now.
5 years ago.
So we're going through this tour and I'm showing the kids and we look up and the kid asks, what's this gray stuff sprayed all over the steel? And I said, that's spray fireproofing. That adds a fire resistance to the steel. And I hesitated just a half a second where Nancy, oops, I didn't want to drop a name. My project manager said that, yes, that's on there because without that, the steel will melt. And my heart sunk, like literally sunk. And then to add insult to injury, the teacher chimes in and says, yes, like on 9/11 when the jet fuel melted the beams and it came straight down. And there I am wanting to say something and not wanting to. Ultimately, afterthought, I should have just said something like stand up for what you believe in. But I'm here in front of the students, the teacher, the project manager, the owner, architects, and I'm like, ugh. It was just. It rubbed me wrong. I wish I had said something. I didn't, but it's in my mind. I'm going to write a letter to my project manager and to certain people about that I can't let it go unchecked because that's what I stand for.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Awesome. Well, I really believe that this high school and middle school environment is a new frontier for 9/11 that we can really leverage. So please join us Tuesday night if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, because I have been asking about that too. We got to this curriculum. These new generations are coming around, learning something that's not true. Thanks again, Mike. I'll be there. Where am I at? Eric, anything for the group?
Yeah. What was thrilling for me when we went to Washington, D.C. was how all the organizations worked together and it kind of produced an exponential effect. And I think it opened up something that I know Architects and Engineers has a lot of good information, has 3,500 names, but most of that information is on all those other websites. And I mean, all the other organizations are utilizing that same information. What's thrilling, what really works is each organization helping the other. And I'm thinking the firefighters, especially when Kurt Weldon talked about getting those 55,000 firefighters, working together. And if that can happen, that would really turn the tide. So whatever Richard Gage 9/11 can do to make the firefighters produce their own 5,500 person list or 55,000 person list, I think would be thrilling. And I just think it's going to be exponential if everybody just works together, the organizations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and
We're
one
working
last
on
thing.
it.
One last thing. Go where you're appreciated.
Nice.
What?
In other words, if there isn't any appreciation for you, there was a great spiritual figure that just used to say, go where you're appreciated. We don't need to give any energy to put the energy in the good place. Yeah.
Richard is appreciated here and all of you are. So thank you. Thanks, Eric. Magnus.
Oh yeah. sad to hear all the stuff that has happened, Craig, and good luck, Richard Gage. We are crossing our fingers and wait to see in 2 months. And Sheen, I'm gonna run a few videos next time for you that we couldn't run today. And thank you for having invited me here to these meetings. And Barbara, you're awesome too. And yeah, you guys are the best. Thank you, Jim and Sandra.
Thank you, Magnus. Right on. I appreciate that. Roy.
Yeah, I turned my camera on so I would be seen, so I could say I had nothing to say. But as a matter of fact, I do have something for the group. An interesting article by David Hughes on his Substack. I put a link to it in the chat right now, and that's all I have to say. It deals with James Corbett and Tucker Carlson and the International Center for 9/11 Justice's recent piece that you talked about during the very interesting Zoom call. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Roy. David Hughes. Hadn't seen that one. Thank you for sharing that. Ted, anything for the group wrapping up?
Yeah, well, I did read the piece by David Hughes, obviously, because it was in part critiquing my own review of the Tucker Carlson series. So I encourage people to go read it and see what he has to say. And I'd be happy to discuss it further. I think he misconstrues a lot of what we say in our article. And I think he, advocates a theory that is pretty baseless from a scientific standpoint. So that's my brief response to it, but I appreciate Roy sharing it. And I hope everybody goes and reads it. I want to say in response to what Eric said about the organizations and groups and activists working together. I think that this year has seen an, kind of almost unprecedented level of that collaboration. And, the Turning the Tide conference sort of was a manifestation of it. It was great to meet you, Eric, and many other people there. And I think that's going to continue forward regardless of like whatever, wherever Richard is or whatever. And also on the firefighter point, we are working, closely with Raul Angulo and the firefighters from 9/11 Truth and with Richard and with others, on Ron Johnson's offer to the 9/11 Truth Movement to produce a report, to be presented at one or more hearings next year. And so we have a vehicle that's carrying forward this this new collaborative spirit. And we will be working really hard to get Raul and the firefighters the exposure that they need to, that will lead to mobilizing the national fire service community. And Raul, as many of you may know, is very well connected in the upper echelons of the fire service community, and particularly with the editors of fire engineering and other publications. And I think he even got a phone call from one this past week, one of the editors of fire engineering, saying, if you can just get a little exposure, just get a little more traction, we can start talking about this issue. And so it was confirming Raul's theory of how this can really take off. So we'll be working really hard to make that exposure happen. And maybe by next summer, we will have the fire service, maybe not completely 100% on board, but a large portion of the fire service and sort of the leaders in the National Fire Service on board with our cause. And that's what we need for Ron Johnson's hearings to be successful. So,
yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Great to see you, Ted.
Yeah. Craig, did I get you? Okay, you're good. Roy, good. Jack?
Yes, I just want to emphasize to Richard, please hang on. I don't think you should give back your password keys.
No, I wouldn't do that, but don't give up.
No, because it's so hard to get them back. Just hang on. A lot of people will come to your defense sooner or later. When this happened in the group that I told you about before 9/11, because of 9/11, one technique they used was screaming bloody murder, doing very vicious things to just eliminate people. And I'm sure they'll do that to you too. But I think the reason that Kelly David is acting the way she is and Kamal is because they got orders from above to don't abandon your post.
All right. Thanks.
So please just hang on.
Thank you, Jack. Let's go to Brian. Anything for the group? He's not there. Marilyn, if you're still there, anything for the group?
Yeah, let me turn on my video.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank you and Jean and Sandra for hosting this. I've only been on it a few times, very few times, but I appreciate that you do this every week. Just kind of a little bit and related to the last comment, just want to say in general, in other completely different organizations I've been part of, I've been aware of what looked like infiltrators being involved, but I would never accuse anyone directly or in public of that. It's just not productive. In fact, it's usually counterproductive. That said, in my observations with my own experience in looking at other things that have happened around the world with different groups, in my observations, there are three key strategies that infiltrators use to sabotage an organization. One is just waste a lot of time, cause problems that end up taking everybody's time away from the work they're trying to do. Number two, cause divisions, getting people fighting with each other. Number three, get the organization to do some really stupid things, stupid or even criminal things that end up causing problems. So, of course, those three things can happen just because people are fallible. But I just try to always watch out. If any of those three things seem to be happening, regardless whether there might be an infiltrator or not, address them and don't let them go any further. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you to everybody. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Marilyn. Well said. Who I got? Barb, anything for the group?
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, got my little list here. Very short. Just reiterating, we're with you, Richard and Gail, whatever you decide. Presumably you will have decided by next week, next Sunday. So we look forward to hearing. I do want people to know I sent this to the DC event list that not everybody here is on. Those of us who co-organized the big DC event, Turning the Tide, on the anniversary period. But I just learned from the Washington Post and sent it to the DC event list. I think it was yesterday or the day before. That, believe it or not, Tucker Carlson's son is the Deputy White House Communications Director for Vice President J.D. Vance. I think that's really interesting. Okay. And my last comment is, how do I get my $500 donation to A&E back?
Kiss that goodbye, Barb. I don't know.
Yeah. Good question. Because I was just debating. It's like we just bought a house and we was like, we're in financial straits, but it was like, okay, how much could we donate? So
you don't.
Well,
right now, yeah.
Oh, good.
Let's be careful with this.
Yeah, that was
trashing the whole organization.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, that was no. Everybody supports AE. That was just yes. All right.
It's always supposed to be a joke.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry, it's been a tough week, Barb. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Lou. I'm just seeing that your hand's up. Go ahead, Lou, for any final comments.
Yeah. Oh, yes. In my experience, if you try and please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody.
Yep.
So we've got to stand on that principle of honesty is the best policy. And as a longtime basketball team player, when dissent, when complaining gets the floor and is not basically acknowledged, but then moving on to get on the good foot, it's problematic. So you can't be negative and complaining. Although the point about infiltration is very true, and people would much rather have negative attention than no attention. So thanks for putting this on, and look forward to next week as well.
Right on. Thank you, basketball playing Abe Lincoln. Anyway, all right. Josh Schoenfeld, anything for the group?
Good evening. Earlier this week, it was announced that the new Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara is visiting the White House, and he's in the United States right now. He played basketball with some military officials. Ahmed al-Shara was the leader of Al-Qaeda, which allegedly attacked the United States on 9/11, and the reason being from Bush and the deceased Dick Cheney was that they hated freedom. And one way I got into 9/11 truth years ago was coming to the realization, understanding that the United States is really allied with these extreme Salafist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, for example. They facilitated the overthrow of Assad last year, replacing the Assad government with a Salafist government. They overthrew Saddam Hussein, which gave rise to Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And then also they overthrew Gaddafi in Libya, giving rise to Al-Qaeda there. So I look at these groups as just tools of the United States and its allies, such as Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Turkey, for example. So to me, I find it very interesting that you don't hear about al-Shara, a terrorist leader, being welcomed with open arms to the United States if Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11 because they hated freedom. So I hope that made sense. I also wrote a blog post for Lou Rockwell. I put it in the group chat if any of you have any interest.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I appreciate the 30,000 foot geopolitical view and keeping us grounded there. Appreciate it. Jetty from Scotland.
Yeah, I just want to express my disappointment that I was all geared up, right, to start bothering the hell out of Richard and Gail by proxy to get a study done on the towers similar to the Building 7 one. I was all ready for that, and I suppose you've been spared that at least, Richard, right? But look, in all seriousness, you've not. They'll come back to you because there's issues there. They're not of your creation. So don't go away and take the weight of that on your shoulders, you and Gail. Keep doing what you're doing. You've led by example, and walking away from the 9/11 the first time didn't stop you. It didn't make you less determined, and it won't make you less determined now. And I will be campaigning, I believe, and bothering the hell out of you to get that study done in the towers at some point, because I think AE 9/11 needs you probably more than you need it. But stay true, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Jerry. Carl.
Yes, I put several links in the chat, one of which is a PDF of Revelo Oliver, one of the founders of the John Birch Society, who very respected intellectual in that era, the 50s, who resigned the Birch Society, and his article there explains how he found the organization had been co-opted through funders to cause the Birch Society to basically never accomplish what it was created to do. Secondly, I uploaded, as I did last week, a audio file of my about a half-hour interview by Ron Johnson's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations back on July 14th. I think, Gene, I was wondering if you would had gone through that, if you were going to ever hit any highlights on that. I think the most important thing I mentioned is, as I also said when I first met Ron Johnson, the first thing I said to him on June 2nd when I met him was, Senator Johnson, if you want people who are involved in the cleanup, et cetera, who are government agents or employees to come forward, I was compelled to sign a non-disclosure agreement when I separated from the government, a blanket non-disclosure, for my whole career, which is a very strange idea because, normally that would be done at the beginning of your career so that you wouldn't lapse by sharing things during the interim before you, quote, retired. And I find it intriguing, actually shocking, appalling, that in his interviews with Brett Weinstein and James Corbett, he's never announced, hey, if any of you out there, like this agent told me, were put under a non-disclosure, hey, we can protect you from any repercussions on that. Please come forward. No, instead, he recounts my telling him about sifting the finer rubble of number 7 for computer or electronic components. And then he says, oh, but we don't know how to get in touch with this guy. Hey, if you're listening out there, please get back in touch with us. He was saying that 6 weeks after I was interviewed by his PSI committee, who damn well, of course, knew how to be in contact with me. So Ron Johnson's going to have to grow a set because, yeah, it's not going to be acceptable to just have 25th anniversary hearings that, oh, they encourage everybody to disbelieve the official story. Yeah, of course, obviously controlled demolitions, when not even Tucker Carlson will lead us to make that leap of understanding that, well, yeah, who placed the explosives? That's the real question. It has been for 24 years. So last comment, please do play the 2-minute video, a tribute to Michael Jackson, AIPAC funding of politicians touching the wall, and the dancing Israelis. It's really a really remarkable video clip.
I will let people do that in the chat. I'm running 2.5 hours now, but thank you for that. Gail, anything for the group wrapping up?
Hey, thank you, Gene. Well, I haven't been able to make it to this call very much because I'm always on another call, which I did not go on today. But I just want to say to everybody, thank you so very much for all the love and support and encouragement. We really appreciate it.
See you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. And last but not, well, I'm getting there. Richard, anything for the group?
I'm deeply moved by the level of support here and the compassion. I really appreciate it, and everybody's ideas and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I get everybody in the room? I think I did. Going to go to Sandra. Anything for the group?
Yeah, I think that was really good advice for you to make it clear that you are not resigning, to keep your name there, that you are still, as far as you're concerned, on the board. All the advice that was given was really very good, to the whole waiting it out thing. I just know that when we heard the news that I mean, obviously from the whole, yeah, you're getting your organization back, and it's like all of that goes without saying. But there was also this, I guess, this relief that, AE had kind of separated itself from all the other organizations. They definitely, there were some exchange, especially since you had gotten back to some kind of partnership with them, and there was some quote unquote exchange of interview prospects and stuff like that with Bialik and Rotans and whatever. But when we were trying to prepare for the 24th anniversary, as a majority, we wanted AE to be part of it because it carries the weight, it carries the credibility. It's the source that gets cited the most often by people who cite the science to this day, still, despite all the other groups and all the other efforts we're making. They just have longevity. And it was really hard to see them say thanks, but no thanks. I would have loved, I was pushing to have all the big organizations on that ticket. And I thought it would have been fabulous for all of us to stand together. So when you went back to, AE, or so we thought, we're just like, this is just, this is really great. All of these, I hear Ron Johnson and others who cite AE, and it's like, they don't know all the ins and outs of the organization, who's with who and who's collaborating and whatnot. And so I just thought it was going to be this wonderful kind of everything coming full circle again with increased, potential, because we're so many organizations now who have proven to be able to work together, and everybody cares about each other. So it's still my hope. I don't know what to say. I
do keep.
I'd like, if there's a way for it to still happen in a way that's healthy for everyone, that's respectful of everyone, I would like to still see that happen.
You guys, there is one little catch as far as the 2-month waiting period, is that according to the contract that Kamal sent to us, it does say that this is a probationary period only, that at the end of the 2 months, the sitting board will determine whether those board members that have been waiting 2 months, if they'll bring them on or not. So they still have that decision to make. So
But
that's
that
not a
time-
contract, to Gail. That was an email or a text. not a
Right,
contract.
right. But it's just, he was explaining the details behind
Policy.
this policy that he's using to keep us from being able to be board members for 2 months. So I don't know. Hopefully
Yeah, they
that's
still
not
get
an
to
issue.
decide.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's not a signed contract, it's not binding.
No.
And also, you can cite back if it comes to it. If I understand correctly, the A&E bylaws policy provision that you have to have at least 3 board members to make a decision.
Right.
And right.
Well,
right now
we're
they
not
only
gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
There,
So
there are
what you guys are saying is don't open this quite yet. All right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Could I just throw? Sorry, could I just throw a quick thing in, Sandra, from what you said? I just wanted to make the I know Andy. The decision was made for AE not to be part of the DC conference, and that wasn't my decision. But I do want to just mention that Andy made a point of mailing you guys a bunch of booklets that that were done for the whole Weldon thing, which AE participated in. I was involved in Jeff Long and whatever, and I just want to let you know that he did that at his own expense. That was not so there were different ways that people were trying to pitch in, even if they didn't
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Absolutely. For things like that, it's just we've been in communication all the time, whether with Andy or with you and well, with Kamal not so much, but there was a lot of exchanges and leaning on, and that was very appreciated, and it went to good use. We brought it to the Senate offices, and whatever we had left over was given out when they were in front of the White House. So yeah, it
very much appreciated there. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yes.
And so the last thing I wanted to share was one last news story. You guys could feel free to peel off if you'd like, but some of you might know who this is. A band, Dropkick Murphys, honor 9/11 unsung hero with a hero among many. Dropkick Murphys have released a video for their new single, A Hero Among Many, one of 5 bonus tracks included on the band's expanded digital version of their For the People album via Dummy Luck Music Play. Played Again Sam. Now available to stream on all platforms, A Hero Among Many pays a tribute to a hero, Wells Crowther, a man in the red bandana, an equities trader, volunteer firefighter, and Boston College alumnus who lost his life while saving others during the collapse of the World Trade Center in New York City, where he worked. Months after the tragedy, many survivors realized the person who saved them, the man in the red bandana, was Crowther. So I just wanted to play this video. It's about 3 minutes on the way out. Feel free to drop off, but I'm just going to let it play out. Here we go.
And we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Model a parent, he may sometimes take a trinket to serve an everlasting memory of what that human meant to the child. This trinket brings comfort and strength. It acts as the child's armor as it learns to face the hard realities of the cold, cold world. Survivor, they sing your praise and share your story. Survivor, they tell the tales of your glory. Survivor, of selflessness and bravery. Survivor, he was a hero among many. Selflessness and bravery in the face of this tragedy, was a hero among many, and he wore the red bandana. Then your mom reads the word that a man they did describe as wearing your signature style over his nose and beneath his eyes did not in fact flee the disaster or perish trying to save himself. He instead thought of others before his own safety and health. Make no mistake, this was no ordinary man. Survivor, they sing your praise and share your story. Survivor, they tell the tales of your glory. Survivor, of selflessness and bravery. hero among many. Any war, the red bandana. Survivor.
All right, everybody. You have a great evening, great week, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.